But it does not end it. Part of the people of the world is obsessed. So when I mean seduction, it means that our five senses, in a way, has been seduced, have been captured. When I mean five senses, is sense of touch, sense of sight, sense of smell, sense of taste. Everything about our five senses is under the control of Satan in the sense of using the computer and houses. Everybody wants to do that. So in the level of obsession, our mind. Today you can see a lot of people, if you don't call them or on the phone, they will be less stressed. Some people cannot even do, their mind will not be at rest. If a couple travel, their partner travel somewhere and did not call you for within an hour or 2 days, you'll be restless. Because you always want to. The whole majority of the people in the world is already obsessed. So our intellect, our mind is always going to search. You may understand this deep when we use the example of sin to explain this. The third part is impulsion. Impulsion is like a force pushing one. Today, you can also see that a lot of people are being captured by the impulse of how they handle their handsets, how they handle their phone. They cannot do without. An impulsion is like a force pushing, moving you, even when you cannot, controlling your intellect. In families, you see a lot of people will sit together, nobody discuss. Each person will be separated, far away from each other. This is the force of impulsion. Because the intellect is already under control. Here, one can still save himself. At the level of seduction, it is easy to pull out, to come out, overcome it. At the level of obsession, it is also equally easy to come out. At the level of impulsion, you can easily also help yourself. Manipulation, at the level of manipulation, is where the world is getting to. At the level of manipulation is where the will is completely buried, controlled by the force of even the microchip. Here, we are facing, at the level of manipulation, the will is completely surrendered. One is completely controlled by that act. You can still get yourself free if you're able to give back your will to God. It is here. Now, at this level of possession, it is a complete ownership. The whole body, soul is being given up. So, one is completely buried in that act. In the early 1997, when I was talking about the microchip and the computer world, which we are facing today, he said a time will come when the world will be seduced, obsessed, enter into the impulsion. This last two is deadly, is very interesting. In fact, the microchip is not evil in itself. What is evil is when the chip moves from the level of this level and enter into manipulation and possession. What does it mean? When man will no longer be in control of himself. And what does that mean is complete destruction of the body of man, what we call dehumanization. At that level of dehumanization, man can be manipulated. You can be, the freedom of man is completely destroyed, because in freedom we resemble God. We have the moral power to choose what is good and what is evil. and then we become responsible for our action. But at the level of manipulation and possession, the freedom of man is at risk. Man hardly doesn't have power over himself. And the worst part of it at this level is that you will do what you doesn't want to do. Just like the people who are completely possessed. To understand it in the other way around. For instance, when David saw Uriah, the wife, Bathsheba, the wife of Uriah, from the top of his roof, the nakedness of the woman seduced him. At this level, David was captured by what he saw. At the level of obsession, David went into his room. The image of what he saw followed him. He became restless. He sent his messenger, go and look for a woman like that. So, and when he was able to find the woman, he cannot control his mind again. He now become controlled by the internet. The internet is now captured. He cannot resist. He was forced into the act. So David was entered into that sin because of at the level of impulsion. He was able to come back because he has not reached the level of manipulation, and he was not completely possessed. So when one is under the level of manipulation and impulsion, you do what the person that manipulated you commands you to do. You become only a robot. You become artificial hand. Whatever the person commands you to do, you do it. So that is one of the reasons why implantation of chip in the body is evil. Because it's evil in the sense that man can be controlled. Man has no secret. Man has no freedom. And that is why our Lord said, in this way you have to learn to withdraw. Who are those who are going to be seduced and transformed into the evil, any type of evil we are talking about? Is those who doesn't have power over their intellect, over their mind, and over their senses. So we must learn to become the master of ourselves. In order to overcome the seduction of Satan, the obsession of Satan, the impulsion of Satan, the manipulation of Satan, the possession of Satan. It is not by hiding. Because if you are hiding and running away from your responsibility, from anything you are doing, or you think it's the physical warfare, when Satan possesses you and manipulates you, he commands you to do whatever he wants you to do. In this way, you are not free. So I repeat what is written here. At the level of possession, the person had made another fundamental option against God. So here, the person has completely given himself to that which he has already given. And that is why at this level of possession, you lost that freedom. You have chosen something other than God. The presence of the indwelling God departs in the soul, because Satan is the one who is now controlling. Satan comes in and dwells in that soul. So he becomes an agent of Satan at this level. So the person fundamentally receives that mark of the beast 666. The mark of the beast 666 we are talking about here is not symbolic, not physically mark of the seed. He becomes enemy of God. You become proud. You become anything else opposing God. This number stands for pride, enemy of God, the Antichrist. It's not necessarily physical number 666. And that is why we can say that computer is not bad, but it becomes bad when it controls us, when it determines what we do, when we bury ourselves into it, when we cannot free ourselves. So find the level in which you are computer and gadget you are holding is controlling you. Are you at the level of seduction? Or are you at the level of obsession? Or are you at the level of impulsion? Or level of manipulation? Or have this completely controls you? If completely controls you, no amount of cleverness that will prevent you from eventually taking this step into yourself. And that is the next generation the world is going. And at this time, what is important is that all those who are enemy of God, who are far away from themselves, will not understand the plan of the enemy. And that is what sin does. When we allow ourselves to be carried away, to be seduced, to obsessed by sin, we now understand the reality of sin. Sin is an offense against God. Sin is a failure of genuine love. Sin is an offense against truth. Sin is against Christ, who is the way, the truth, and the life. Sin is against right conscience. Is in conscience, God speaks to us in our innermost being, because here we cannot hear God again. This journey we are about to begin, the journey within, to discover God in the sanctuary of our heart, will become difficult because sin has already destroyed our conscience. We cannot hear God again. Sin wounds the nature of man, which we have already discovered. The sinful acts are wrong, not only because this constitutes disobedience to rule and law, but because acting sinfully impairs our happiness. In fact, it destroys our happiness, it destroys ourselves, and even destroys others, and even offend God. So, 3 dimensions of sin. The church has made it very easy for us to discover that there is what we call venial sin and mortal sin. In venial sins, it can easily be, one can easily come out of it. It's still offense against God. But mortal sin is because it is a grave matter. We know that it is a grave matter, and we consent into it. So there are sins called capital sin or deadly sin. They are foundation of all other sins. We have to pay attention to those sins, because that sin is where seduction lies. That's the seduction of Satan. The obsession begins. So the fact that we call them deadly sin does not make them mortal sin. They are the foundation. So it begins with pride, which is one of the fundamental mark of the beast, the fallen angels, the envy, the sloth, the gluttony, anger, and lust. These 7 deadly sin is very important. We know them. They are not mortal sin in themselves, but they can lead us into mortal sin. They are the foundation in which the seduction, obsession, manipulation, impulsion, and possession starts. When Satan works on one's pride, what follows it is the next action. Then, from pride, one enter into a grievous sin, just like you can even enter into murder. As a result of pride, one can even go into putting himself where he should not be. One can easily, out of pride, freely give himself or herself to Satan and become possessed, like those who have joined secret cults and evil groups like Freemasons and the rest. So how can we now renew the seal? We renew the seal through the acts of penance. The 2 sacraments renews that seal, which is very important we know. The sacrament of penance and reconciliation, and the sacrament of the Holy Eucharist. So there are 2. In the sacrament of penance, there are important things to know. Perfect contrition and imperfect contrition. In the perfect contrition has the capacity of a perfect contrition arises from the love by which God is. Have you said it? Perfect contrition arises from the love by which God is love above all else. It is called perfect contrition or contrition of charity. The perfect contrition helps us to be able to completely unite ourselves with God. I have something to say here. I have something to say about perfect contrition. What I want to say about perfect contrition is that when we are moving back to the renewing of our seal. Penance is very important, especially now that the world is facing a lot of challenges. But in order to enter into penance, in order to enter into penance, something is interesting here. You must weigh what is prompting your penance. Is it charity, which will mark the perfect contrition, or is it fear of going to hell, or is it fear because the world is coming to an end, or is it fear because you fear that you will contract a sickness, or you will be cut, they will cut you? If our contrition is perfect, in this state, our sin can easily be forgiven. In fact, perfect contrition with the sacramental grace remove and cleanse us perfect joy. Even before we go to confession, it has the capacity of granting us forgiveness and remission of our sins when contrition is perfect. And we need it now. A lot of people are struggling to go to confession, to reconcile with God and other things because of the fear that the world is coming to an end, the Antichrist is coming to rule the world, things are going bad. If the contrition is not perfect, if it is not love of God that is prompting that contrition, it is not perfect contrition. But imperfect contrition can also give us some special grace. We can gain some special blessing when when the imperfect contrition leads us to the sacrament of reconciliation. We're able to confess our sin and do acts of penance. It can also eventually help us to come to God. So what I want to point out in these two, contrition, perfect contrition and imperfect contrition, is in perfect contrition, whoever has a perfect contrition has determination that I will not go back to this sin again. But imperfect contrition may be because as a result of fear, the person is afraid, doesn't know what to do. In the end of everything, he now decided to turn back to God. Imperfect contrition will, if it is not connected to the perfect contrition, to love, will eventually become weak. And that is why most of us, after act of contrition, because we are afraid of dying, because we are afraid of death, because we are afraid of the Antichrist, when those things has passed, we return back to those things which we have actually done. So, my dear brothers and sisters, as we are talking about the seal, which is a little foundation we are going to do, there is important journey we have to make. We need to come down to our hearts. The greatest preparation we are going to make is the preparation towards the journey within. And that is where we are laying the foundation of this important core. And what does that mean? That simply means that we have to discover that in us, when man fall into sin separates us from ourselves, demarcate us, separate us from our brothers and sisters, and separate us from God. So in order to return and renew our own sin and come back to our full nature as Christians, we have to journey in. St. Augustine will always cry out that in the days when he has not discovered God, he was searching God outside, looking for God where God is not. Now, how does he know that God he is searching outside is within the sanctuary of his heart? And in order to enter into the union with God, we have 7 gates to get the heart of man. Man has a lot of gates, a lot of gates that have locked us out of ourselves. And until we come back to ourselves, we cannot discover the importance of this interior life. Now, we have the opportunity, many people, many countries of the world has an opportunity to stay at home. Let us see the need to return home, to get in touch with ourselves. It is not just easy to get in touch with ourselves because of these 7 gates that the man demarcated us. We can take it one after the other to help us in this short time. The first gate is the gate of feeling. The second gate is the gate of our history. The third gate is the gate of all the battle of life we have fought. The fourth gate is the gate of our wounds and our injury. The fifth gate is the gate of our victory and defeat. And the sixth gate is the gate of all the boosts and spoils, what we gather as a result of our war, what we lose or what we gain. And the seventh gate is the gate of our allies. What becomes those that becomes our friends, which eventually becomes our habit. We are going to take it briefly because we have done most of this in the 4th month of the Synacle, the February Synacle this year. Last year we were able to discuss it in detail. So, the gate of our feeling. What then is our feeling? Our feelings is those things that we take as a being, what touches us. Our heart is not our feeling. Right deep into our true being, our true nature, we see the gap between our feeling and our heart in itself. So our feelings is external emotions that pushes us, that drives us, that moves us, that plumps us. In fact, it is marked with a lot of fears, tensions, anxieties. A lot of people are operating at this level. At this particular gate, if you are at this gate, you have not discovered yourself. It carries a lot of emotions and force, which is not your true self. At the level of feeling, you will see yourself thinking of what to do. In fact, at the level of feelings, you discover yourself as what you do, not whom you are. The real person of you is being described on the external self, at the outward part. And that is exactly the level where Peter was, when Peter was telling Jesus, I will not deny you. I will do whatever you, even if others will abandon you, I will not. This is the level where a lot of people who thought that the war we are fighting now is a physical warfare. It is a war where they will carry gun and cutlass and kill everybody so that things will become normal. No, it is the level of feeling. Because at the level of feelings, one can operate, they can do many things external, not getting in touch. If you remove that thing that gives him or her that ego to move on, the person will pass right. He cannot come back, he cannot even come back again. As I said, the real war has not come. Those at the level of feeling makes a lot of noise. When the real war comes up, they cannot even stand again. Feelings fades away easily. But when the action is buried in the heart, it takes longer, it stays, and it lasts. It will stand the test of time. So, at this gate, I want to encourage us. Let us get in touch with our feelings and know what is that is moving us. What is that is prompting us to do whatever we are doing. It's important we take note of that. Then the second gate is the gate of our history. Some people find this difficult to get in touch with their history. Before you get into your real heart, your true self, you must go back to yourself and ask yourself, who is me? What is that makes my life? You look at your childhood experience. Know from the childhood experience, you take the time when you are already in the secondary school, at the time when you are already in the kindergarten, when you are in the high school, the experience as a youth, the experience as an adult, the experience as you are getting old. What is my history like? Sit down and discuss about it. And that is a fundamental journey to the heart. Then the third gate is in the history, you'll be able to enter the gate of the battle of life. What are those things that I fought? Those ones that defeated me and those ones I defeat. The battle of life is plenty. Some people were abused as little children. Some people fought a lot of wars. Some people were persecuted. Some people were abandoned. Some people find themselves in the battle of losing their faith. There are a lot of things that happen around you. These gates of this warfare is very important you note it. Because in these battles, recalling those battles is a means of approaching the gates, the third gate. So from this battle of life, we were able to discover the wounds and the injuries. Because in fighting the battles of life, some must have defeated you, you must have sustained a lot of injury. If you, in the course of all your life, you have not experienced any wounds or injury, you are blessed. But it is rare to find a soldier who enters into the war front without sustaining an injury. The world is a warfare. So, if these wounds can take you out far away from yourself. So, from there, you are able to see the victory or defeat. Do you actually win some battle, or are you actually defeated? I will use one example to run all these things, connect all of them.
Agonizing Lord Jesus Christ, Lord, you suffered on Calvary. You hung there bleeding for my sake.